The sky hung low and gray over the small college town in Texas, its streets slick with rain. Mark Davis, a 23-year-old law student, trudged along the sidewalk, his backpack slung over one shoulder, his face etched with worry. Juggling his final year of law school, a part-time job, and the crushing debts left by his late father, Mark felt the world closing in tighter each day. His phone buzzed, snapping him out of his thoughts. "Mark Davis speaking," he answered, voice tight. "Mr. Davis, this is Eleanor Brooks," came a composed, authoritative voice. "I'd like to meet with you. It's regarding your financial situation." Mark frowned, rain dripping from his hood. "I'm sorry, who are you? How do you?" "I know enough," she interrupted smoothly. "Let's meet at Brooks Bistro, 7 p.m. It's important." The call ended before he could protest. Confused but intrigued, Mark arrived at the upscale cafe, his jacket soaked. Inside, warm lighting and the aroma of fresh coffee greeted him. At a corner table sat Eleanor Brooks, a striking woman with silver hair and a tailored suit that radiated wealth. Her piercing blue eyes met his as she gestured for him to sit. "Mrs. Brooks, what's this about?" Mark asked, cautious. "Straight to the point." "Good," she said, sipping her tea. "I know about your debts, the ones your father left behind. I know you're barely scraping by. I'm here to offer a solution." Mark's brows furrowed. "And what would that be?" She set down her cup. "Marry me." The words hung heavy, surreal. Mark blinked, sure he'd misheard. "Excuse me, you heard me," Eleanor said, her voice steady. "This isn't about romance. It's a business arrangement. I'll pay off your debts, ensure your financial security, and in return, you'll be my husband." Mark laughed, disbelieving. "You're serious? Why me? You don't even know me." "Exactly," she replied, leaning forward. "You're young, unattached, and desperate enough to consider this. I don't need love, Mark. I need a companion, someone to share my name, my estate. Think of it as a contract." Mark stood, the chair scraping the floor. "This is insane. I need time to think." "Of course," Eleanor said coolly. "But don't take too long. The offer doesn't stand forever." That night, Mark sat with his mother at their worn kitchen table. Her pale face, etched with worry from her medical bills, mirrored his own. His younger sister's tuition loomed like a dark cloud. After explaining Eleanor's proposition, his mother spoke softly. "I know it sounds unthinkable, but if she's willing to help, maybe it's worth considering." "You're asking me to marry a woman I don't love just to solve our problems," Mark said, voice strained. "I'm asking you to save yourself," she replied, her voice trembling. "To save us." The next morning, Mark returned to the bistro. Eleanor sat, calm as ever, her tablet glowing softly. "You've decided," she said, not looking up. Mark took a deep breath. "I'll do it," she smiled faintly. "Good. The arrangements will be made immediately." 7 days later, Mark stood in a small courthouse, dressed in a suit Eleanor had provided. The ceremony was quiet, witnessed only by her lawyer and a notary. As they exchanged vows, unease churned in Mark's chest. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, Eleanor's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Welcome to your new life, Mr. Davis," she said. As they left the courthouse, rain drizzling, Mark caught his reflection in a puddle and wondered, have I saved my family, or sold my soul? The gates to Eleanor's estate creaked open as Mark's cab rolled up the long driveway. The sprawling mansion loomed ahead, its towering columns and pristine stone facade exuding old money. Yet its dark windows felt lifeless, like a museum frozen in time. Eleanor greeted him, in the foyer, her polished demeanor unshaken. "Welcome, Mr. Davis. I trust you'll find everything to your satisfaction. Dinner is at 7 o'clock. Mark nodded, following a housekeeper to his room. It was opulent, king-sized bed, antique furnishings, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking manicured gardens, but it felt cold, untouched by human warmth. At dinner, Mark sat stiffly at the long dining table, Eleanor at the other end, dressed in a silk blouse and pearls. The food was extravagant, served by silent staff. "I trust you're settling in," Eleanor said, cutting her filet mignon with precision. "It's different," Mark replied cautiously. "This place is huge. Feels like I'll get lost." She smirked. "You'll get used to it. Or you won't. Either way, you're here." Mark bristled. "You didn't mention much about your late husband before." Eleanor's knife paused mid-cut. She dabbed her mouth with a napkin. "He was a businessman, like your father. Their paths crossed once or twice." Her tone darkened. "Not all encounters end well." Mark's pulse quickened. What do you mean? Let's just say unfinished business lingers, she said, sipping her wine. You'll understand why I chose you soon enough. Her cryptic words left Mark uneasy. After dinner, he wandered the estate's halls, eerily quiet save for the creak of floorboards. Locked doors lined the corridors, their brass handles gleaming, whispering secrets. The staff avoided eye contact, their hushed conversations halting when he passed. He overheard snippets. Why him? Does he know? She never does anything without a reason. One evening, pacing the library, Mark noticed Eleanor's desk, papers strewn across it. A small, ornate key gleamed under the lamp. His heart pounded as he glanced around. No one. He grabbed the key, its weight heavy in his hand. Could it unlock one of the forbidden doors? Slipping it into his pocket, he felt the first spark of defiance. That night, lying in his suffocating room, Mark turned the key over in his hands. What was Eleanor hiding? Why had she chosen him? The mansion was still as Mark crept down the hall, the key a lead weight in his pocket. Moonlight streamed through the windows, casting shadows on an ornate door he'd noticed before. With a glance over his shoulder, he turned the key in the lock. The soft click echoed like a gunshot. Slowly, he pushed the door open. The room was a time capsule. Dusty furniture, faded wallpaper, photographs in tarnished silver frames. Eleanor is a young woman, a man, her late husband, Harold, and another couple Mark didn't recognize. On a desk lay a stack of papers. Mark flipped through them, his eyes widening. Legal documents detailed failed business deals between Harold Brooks and Mark's father, accusing him of fraud. One letter, in sharp, slanted handwriting, read, "You ruined everything. My family was left with nothing because of your lies." Mark's breath hitched. Then he saw it, a marriage license, his name and Eleanor's, dated weeks before he'd even met her. On the desk sat an old, leather-bound diary. Hesitating, Mark opened it. Eleanor's entries revealed a chilling plan. I will take everything from him, just as his father did to me. He will be my pawn. The door creaked behind him. Enjoying yourself? Eleanor's voice was icy, cutting through the shadows. Mark spun, guilt and fear on his face. Eleanor, you thought you'd find answers here. She stepped into the room, her silhouette sharp. Curiosity killed the cat. Mark, why did you marry me? He demanded, voice low but firm. Is this about my father? Some kind of revenge? Her eyes hardened, her composure cracking. It's not your place to ask questions. Do what you're told, and you'll leave this marriage better off. Isn't that enough? Mark's fists clenched. Enough. You've lied, manipulated me. This isn't a marriage, it's a trap. Eleanor's lips curled into a faint, cold smile. A trap? Maybe you should have thought twice before signing those papers. She stepped closer, her tone venomous. You're just like your father, blind to the damage you cause until it's too late. Mark glared, the weight of his father's legacy crushing him. If you hated him so much, why take it out on me? I had nothing to do with what he did to your family. Eleanor stared, the silence stretching. Finally, she turned on her heel. You're in over your head, Mark. Stay out of matters that don't concern you. Her footsteps faded down the hall. Later, Mark overheard Eleanor in her study, her voice sharp, make sure the transfer is complete. We can't let him back out now. Time is running out. His blood ran cold. Whatever was happening, he was in deeper than he'd imagined. Mark sat in the library, fear and confusion swirling. A private investigator he'd hired confirmed the truth. Harold Brooks had been swindled by Mark's father in a fraudulent real estate deal, stripping the Brooks family of their fortune. Harold's heart attack soon after left Eleanor embittered, her marriage to Mark a calculated act of revenge. Determined to escape, Mark confided in his law school friend, Peter. Hypothetically, Mark asked, if someone signed a contract under coercion or false pretenses, can it be voided? Peter frowned. Hypothetically, yes, but you need evidence. Why? You in trouble? Just a class project, Mark lied. Late one night, Mark found an envelope in Eleanor's desk addressed to his father, accusing him of embezzlement and deceit that led to Harold's death. I will see to it your family pays, Eleanor had written. Her actions weren't just about money, they were about vengeance. Mark resolved to act. He couldn't let Eleanor use him as a pawn. But her sharp instincts caught his unease. At breakfast, she leaned close, her voice a venomous whisper, if you betray me, you'll wish you hadn't. The air in the estate felt charged as Mark met Peter in secret. Together, they compiled evidence, documents from Eleanor's office, the investigator's findings, and proof of her shady business dealings, falsified reports and illegal partnerships to rebuild her empire. Mark, this is enough to take her down, Peter said. But be careful, if she realizes you're onto her, there's no telling what she'll do. The next morning, Mark faced Eleanor in the grand sitting room, evidence in hand. I know everything, he said, voice firm. About my father, Harold, and what you've been doing to rebuild your fortune. Eleanor's calm faltered. You've been snooping again, haven't you? I understand you were wronged, Mark said, voice rising, but what about the people you've hurt? What about me? I didn't deserve this. Her jaw tightened. My husband deserved to die of heartbreak while your father lived comfortably. Don't talk to me about fairness. Revenge won't bring him back, Mark said, holding up the evidence. You've ruined lives. When does it end? For a moment, Eleanor's shoulders sagged, a flicker of regret in her eyes. You remind me of him, you know. Harold. That same fire. I didn't expect to feel anything for you, Mark. Then stop this, he urged. Let it go. Before she could respond, car tires crunched on the gravel outside. Police officers entered, followed by Peter. Eleanor Brooks, an officer said, we have a warrant for your arrest. Multiple counts of fraud and conspiracy. Eleanor's face hardened as she looked at Mark. You called them. You left me no choice, he said. As the officers led her away, she turned back. You may think you've won, Mark, but revenge isn't so easily undone. Be careful it doesn't consume you too. The gavel's bang echoed through the courtroom, signaling the end of Eleanor's trial. Mark sat in the back, watching the once commanding woman face her consequences. His testimony had helped reduce her sentence, not out of sympathy, but understanding the pain that drove her. Eleanor met his gaze, offering a faint, apologetic nod. Days later, Mark was summoned to the estate. The lawyer handed him a letter in Eleanor's elegant handwriting. It was never about the money, Mark. It was about closure. Harold deserved justice, but I lost sight of what mattered. You've shown me the capacity to move forward. This estate is yours, use it well. Mark sold the estate, its grandeur a gilded cage for both him and Eleanor. The proceeds paid off his family's debts, freeing his mother from his father's mistakes. With the remainder, he established a scholarship fund in Harold Brooks's name, honoring the man caught in their family's feud. Returning to law school, Mark felt a sense of homecoming. Determined to use his education for good, he carried Eleanor's parting words with him. The shadow of their shared past lingered, but Mark vowed to forge a future free of vengeance, one built on justice, not retribution.